Not there yet. Yep. There. Oh no. No, you don't have to start, it's fine. There we go. Hey Chidori, how are you? Alright. Ah yeah, this is where we left off. Yeah, it's coming back to me. Jessica never warmed to the idea of moving into grandfather's study. But in the end, Aunt Natsuhi persisted and we decided to move there. Everyone was already trapped by paranoia. Kumasawa-san had prepared dinner once already, but after the incident involving George Aniki's parents, the kitchen and the parlor had become temporarily devoid of people. Oh, hey Clinton! How's it going? Someone said that it might have been poisoned at that time. Oh god. Yeah, okay, so... Great. Because of that, we were unable to even touch the food that Kumasawa-san had taken the trouble to make for us. Poor Kumasawa-san. Hey, Bea! How's it going? Also, say hi to Clinton too, he's here. Which is... I'm only pointing it out because it's surprising for the beginning of stream. Sometimes when you come around, it's mostly towards the end of the stream. The manner in which the first 6 had been killed was still unknown, but there was a possibility that it was poison. And indeed, by this method, even a single person would be able to carry out the murder of 6 fully grown adults. Furthermore, this idea made it seem like there was only a single culprit, who was also afraid of Aunt Natsuhi's rifle, and this was very good for our emotional stability. I mean, if that's what you need to believe for your emotional stability, okay. Nezu in red. Yes and no at the same time. Like, yes, because I know that's what you see. And you're not gonna believe me, but it's actually pink. But it's a shade of pink that my camera always turns into red. So I love the shirt, but I have trouble wearing it on stream because I kind of try to accessorize it with pink things. Like my nails, which are also dark pink. But they will come off as red probably because the camera kind of adjusted for the shirt, I suppose. And so it turned red, and then I turned my light in the back in pink, and it was just completely out of place, so I turned it red too. So yes and no. It's weird. I've had this shirt on stream before. It had the same trippy effect. Yeah, I don't know. There were also times when I was in big Nezu mode, and I don't know, in the way I was moving, the camera would kind of like adjust to pink for just a second and then back to red. It was trippy. But yeah, okay. As long as it looks okay, then that's fine. But that fatigue and hunger were even harsher than we had imagined. I mean, of course, you've been through an absolutely traumatic shitfest of a day, and you haven't even eaten. So yeah. So on Kumasawa-san's suggestion, we all went along together to the kitchen and gathered some canned food, which would be hard to poison, to take in with us. Everything we perceive is a lie. I know, right? Sometimes our senses betray us. All of Kumasawa-san's efforts to reward us with at least a nice dinner on this savage day regrettably came to nothing. The food piled up on the serving cart looked just a little sad. I'm sad for the food. Feel bad. We all started climbing the stairs, and Aunt Natsuhi led the group, warily staring into the darkness with both eyes and the barrel of the gun. I can just picture her. When we arrived on the 3rd floor, just as Aunt Natsuhi had warned us beforehand, there was a mixture of a chemical smell and a sickly sweet aroma, a stench hanging in the air that felt like it was eating into our heads.
なるほど。こりゃ一晩もこもったら頭痛にでもなりそうな匂いだな。
Hey, Zecto, how's it going?
今更ながら、じい様の書斎に反対したジェシカに賛成だぜ。
This exceptionally magnificent door felt like the source of the stench. So this was the door to the forbidden study, which had turned away all who visited it. While Genji-san was unlocking the door, Maria was staring at the door and the doorknob with great interest.
ああ、 すごいドア。
古くいかめしくて冗談の通じなさそうな、いかにもじいさまの書斎にふさわしい扉だよな。
霊的な悪意を退ける力がとても強く込められている。多分、ベアトリーチェはこの扉を開けられないね。
Ooh.
お？それどういうことだよ。
Maria pointed at the doorknob. That's a scorpion. A scorpion crest. No, a design like a magic circle arranged around a scorpion was inscribed there. This design. That's right. Isn't this just like those key holder charms that Maria gave Jessica and me yesterday?
火星の5の魔法陣は強力な魔除け。しかもこの魔法陣は相当丹念に作られていて、力がよく満ちている。魔のものであるベアトリーチェにとって、この魔法陣はとても厄介だろうね。
それは心強いじゃねえか。この部屋なら、ベアトリーチェの魔種から逃げられるってことだろ。うちの魔女様は実に頼もしいぜ。
なら、ベアトリーチェはどうやって中のおじい様を？
バトラが推理した通りだよ。ベアトリーチェは中に入れない。でも彼女には魔法があるし、使い魔だっている。それらを使って、おじい様が自分から書斎を出てくるように仕向けることはできるかも。
ああ、漫画で読んだな。吸血鬼は十字架が怖くて近づけねえけど、使い魔たちはへっちゃらなんで、使い魔に襲わせるみたいなシーンを読んだことがあるぜ。
バトラたちに昨日あげたサソリのキーホルダーのようなお守りも、この火星の5の魔法陣だよ。
Hey, Blood Neko, how's it going? Umineko is going, I guess, from one corpse to another. Piling more as time goes on. I don't know, let's see.
込められている力は微々たるものだけど、この島を出るまでの間を守ってくれるだけなら十分だった。なくしちゃったそうだけどね。
サソリのキーホルダーのお守り？
ああ、昨日私が母さんに渡したお守りはマリアにもらったものだったんだよ。
Yo, don't tell me that's what protected Natsuhi. And that's why whoever was the menace couldn't get into the room.
ドアノブにかけると魔除けになるとか言われて、私より母さんの方がいいかなってあの時は思って。
そうでしたか。ジェシカにしては変わったものを持っていると思っていました。
夏日おばさんがあれをドアノブに？
ええ。夕べそう聞き、寝る前に扉の内側のドアノブにかけました。
なら、夏日おばさんはとても幸運だよ。そうだったなら夕べ、ベアトリーチェは夏日おばさんに指一本触れられなかっただろうね。ベアトリーチェはさぞや悔しがったと思うよ。
Beatrice, annoyed, couldn't lay one finger. Natsuhi thought back on that eerie graffiti she had seen that morning, like someone had been tearing at the outside of her door with blood-soaked hands, and gasped in surprise. Could it be that this witch who called herself Beatrice had tried to enter through the door to her very own room? But the magic repelling charm had been hanging from the inside, so she couldn't break through the door. So she was annoyed. So she scratched at it.
よせよ、そういう話。魔女なんかいないぜ。いるのは犯人。それも私たちと同じ人間だ。それを確かめる必要があるってなら、八つ先にして血が赤いかも確認してやろうじゃねえか。くそ。よくもカノン君を。
Click. Genji unlocked the door. The 8 entered Kinzo's study. Interesting that the keyhole is upside down. Grandfather's study. I'd heard rumors about it beforehand, so it didn't surprise me all that much. He had done nothing more than fortify it thoroughly with his occult hobbies. If grandfather's hobby had been chasing after pop idols, these walls might have been buried beneath idol posters. If I didn't understand it, I did realize that this room was an amalgamation of all the things he enjoyed. Even so, I couldn't help but remain dumbfounded by the smell of his creepy medicine and the sweet stench that seemed to melt my head. I mean, open a window or something. When the door closed, it automatically made a clunk. I see, this is the auto lock that's activated whenever the door is closed. And there were only 2 keys which could open this door from the outside, both of which were in this room. In other words, this room had become a locked room. The shutter, the receipt, the chain, and now the auto lock. This 4th door had been locked in the most magnificent fashion yet, constructing a locked room in a perfect form that none could argue with. Just to make absolutely sure that the room was secure, we checked all over for ways in or out. The windows were tightly locked. That should have been enough, but just in case, we tried knocking all over the walls. Afterward, there had been whispers that there might be a hidden door in this room, but we couldn't find anything suspicious. Grandfather's study was very large. Even though we called it a study, it wasn't really a single room. It could be divided up into 4 basic sections: a study section, a bedroom section, a toilet-bathroom section, and a section for cooking that had a sink. I see, this study does have enough in it to live in. Now I could understand how grandfather could live his whole life in this room without ever leaving. It seemed that the grandfather wasn't in the habit of watching TV. There was no television in this room, nor even a radio. Until tomorrow morning, there would be nothing for us to do but pass the time listening to the sound of the rain. Dr. Nandro gazed at the chessboard that sat on the table in front of the sofa and muttered. It was apparently the partly finished chess match he'd been playing with grandfather until yesterday. The black had the white pretty well cornered, and it looked like checkmate would be reached within a few moves, the end of the game. Even though checkmate had almost been reached, the endgame had been rushed, and in the end was never completed.
金蔵さん、やはりこの勝負は決着がつきませんでしたな。
南條先生。
わしは長く金蔵さんの友人だったが、金蔵さんのことを知っているのは半分だけでしかなかった。金蔵さんにはいつも聡明な金蔵さんと何かの狂気にとらわれた金蔵さんの2人が同居していたように思う。わしは金蔵さんのことを何も理解してはおらんかった。
特にベアトリーチェ様のことになると人が変わったようでしたっけね。
In the direction of Kumasawa-san's upward gaze, a portrait of Beatrice could be seen. It wasn't massive like the one hanging in the entrance hall, but small, made for this room. Grandfather probably spent every day in this room, and so much of his time talking to the witch in that portrait. Well, talking is one way to describe it. Who was Beatrice to grandfather in the first place? By now, you couldn't just explain her away by saying she was a story made by the parents to frighten children away from wandering into the forest. While eating the canned food we had brought from the kitchen, we talked together about who Beatrice was. Whether the culprit was Beatrice herself or someone pretending to be her. Whether they were a witch or a human, the lady in this portrait was strongly related to the basis and background of these crimes. You couldn't talk about them without talking about her.
そうだ、母さん。エヴァおばさんたちの部屋で
Finally, yes,
犯
I
人
want
の
to
手紙
know.
を拾ったんでしょ
Yes,
え
please.
え。まだ開けていませんでしたね。開けてみましょう。
Yes, please. Aunt Natsuhi took out that Western-style envelope. Genji-san pulled the letter opener out of a drawer in the study desk and handed it to her. While watching her open it, George Aniki grimaced slightly. After all, it was a letter left at the site where his parents had been murdered. There was a good chance that its contents would say something unbearable to Aniki. It seemed that Aunt Natsuhi also realized that. So she glanced over the contents first without reading it aloud. We were a little frightened that she might grimace after reading something shocking, but she just frowned unhappily.
内容は何と？
不愉快な一文があります。私たちを挑発するつもりなのでしょう。
Aunt Natsuhi, after deciding that the contents could be shown to the children, set it openly on the table. Everyone stared at it at the same time.
我が名をたたえよ。なんだよこれ。うせえぜ。
Yeah.
ベアトリーチェの勝ち名乗りみたいなものだろうね。くそ。
大方、また怪しげな魔法陣でも出てくるのを期待してたんだろう。
魔法陣ではなかったけどね。想像は裏切られなかったよ。
どういう意味でしょう。自分の存在を誇示したいのでしょうか。
そう考えるのが妥当でしょう。この手紙で初めて、私たちは昨夜の手紙の主が犯人であると理解できる。ここに書かれている内容よりも、昨夜と同じ封筒でというところに意味があるものと思います。
封筒も風浪も間違いなく親方様が使われていたものです。
おお、もう私には何が何だかわかりませんよ。こんなことは後宮のお家にお仕えして以来初めてのことです。
昨日の手紙の言う通りなら、ベアトリーチェは自称じい様の最古の腹心だ。じい様も常々そう口にしてたんですよね。
I directed the question to Genji-san and Kumasawa-san, who nodded together.
ってことは、じい様の次に詳しいのは源氏さんと熊沢さんってことになる。話してくれないっすか。
私は長いことわざと耳にしなかった話です。ですがこの後に及んではそうも言っていられません。源氏、知っている限りを話しなさい。
They're still postponing the contents of the letter. I'm just curious. Genji-san didn't answer. Did he remain silent despite his knowledge? Or did he know nothing at all? Still, I had a good guess. The ghost story of the witch Beatrice had long been deified among the servants. He had probably been very close to grandfather too, and his occult hobbies. So there was a good chance that he'd been indoctrinated with even weirder things and had increasingly come to deify the witch. What? Okay, I don't know what you mean. Praise my name? That's it? I thought that was like the opening sentence or something to something bigger. Okay, maybe I misunderstood what Natsuhi was saying. Because I interpreted that to be just, oh, there's one phrase that kind of is trying to provoke us, but the rest is more or less whatever we can read it. That's what I understood. Okay, maybe I'm too tired. So, as grandfather's most trusted servant who had sworn loyalty to him, he might be the most influenced by the witch illusion that grandfather had created. So there was only one reason for Genji-san to remain silent. Okay, I interpreted just as I said earlier that she's meant that one of the sentences was, you know, meant to provoke them. But okay, yeah. My bad then. He could say it, but it would definitely cause a backlash, so it was better if he kept his mouth shut and it wasn't like we wouldn't believe him anyway. Something along those lines. Only a short while ago, Maria had been more than willing to speak bluntly and unrestrainedly, and that had earned her a scuffle with Jessica. It was natural for Genji-san to keep his silence. His mistress. That could be possible. For ordinary poor people, polygamy isn't only viewed negatively from a moral perspective. It's also unmaintainable, an unmaintainable financial situation. But that isn't the case for the very rich. It's possible for them to have another lover in addition to their real wife. We can't deny the possibility that grandfather had another woman in his life besides grandmother.
かもな。ばあ様は生きてた頃、よく疑ってたらしいぜ。浮気相手がいるってな。私はてっきりそれは、じい様の想像の中の魔女のことを指してるんだとばかり思ってたんだが。
そりゃなんとも面白い話になってきたぜ。源氏さんは俺に言ったよな。ベアトリーチェはこの屋敷ができる以前からじい様に仕えてたって。
お屋敷が竣工したのは昭和27年と聞いています。
ってことはベアトリーチェという人は30年以上も昔からおじい様と連れ添っていたということになるね。
その30年前の愛人、もしくはその縁者や隠し子が何かの恨みがあって何らかの復讐を企んだ。なるほど。洋館ミステリーっぽいありがちなストーリーになってきたじゃねえか。
汚らわしい話ですが、一番納得できる筋書きです。どうですか、源氏。
おそらく親方様に恋愛の感情は終わりになられたでしょう。亡くなられた奥様より愛しておられたに違いありません。
ベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだよ。
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. There we go.
そして今はどうしてるんだ。
お屋敷ができるより前にお亡くなりになったと聞いています。
すでに死んでいる？
はい。親方様は大層深く悲しまれ、ベアトリーチェ様を蘇らせる方法として黒魔術に傾倒なさっていったのです。
Okay, now the wind sound effect was added to make it creepier, I guess.
親方様はベアトリーチェ様を心の底から愛しておられたのです。
I can feel it in my bones.
このような狂気に駆り立てるほどに。
As Genji-san said this, he spread his arms, as though asking us to look at this room filled with the signs of grandfather's madness. We were all at a loss for words. Before this, his black magic hobby was nothing other than creepy, and we had found it impossible to understand what drove him to devote himself to it. Nobody had tried to understand Kinzo, dismissing him as an eccentric who had restored the Ushiromiya family amidst his madness. All that had been on grandfather's mind was the loss of the woman he loved, and the sorrow of being unable to give up on her. Just a few moments ago, this room had seemed creepy, but in that instant everything about it started making sense. The creepy books, the magic circles, the medicine, all of it. All just because he wanted to revive once more the visage of a single woman who had left this world 30 long years ago.
一度だけ深く酔われた親方様にベアトリーチェ様のお話を聞かされたことがあります。詳しいことは忘れてしまいましたが。
How can you forget this?
それはもう女の私が聞いて羨むような深い深い愛情でございました。
Like, it's the biggest mystery surrounding him, and you happened to be there when he spilled the beans, but you forgot the details? Kumasawa, come on. I had more faith in you than that.
金蔵さんは後宮家の当主を継いだ時、当時まだ生き残っていた後宮家の長老たちの意向で亡くなった奥さんとの結婚を決められたのです。
つまり後宮家にとって得になる女性との結婚を強制された。
さようです。金蔵さんはお家復興のためだけに当主に据えられ、全ての重責を背負わされたのです。そんな金蔵さんがどこでどういう経緯でベアトリーチェと知り合ったのかは分かりかねます。
それ以上語るのは無粋だな。
That was when grandfather truly fell in love for the first time. How deep that affection must have been. It was easy to tell just by looking around us. This room was covered with piles upon piles of things having to do with black magic. And grandfather had spent day after long day shut in here, immersed in his research and isolated from the outside world, never taking a single day off. You couldn't help but realize how deep grandfather's love for Beatrice was.
私誤解してたよ、源氏さん。
何をでしょうか。
私、使用人の人たちが魔女を問診するのはじい様の気持ち悪い黒魔術趣味に感化されてるからじゃないかってずっと思ってきた。違ったんだな。
Perhaps they had been acting as though at least Beatrice's soul had been restored and existed inside this mansion in order to soothe grandfather's heart. With closed eyes and an expression as though he was remembering something from the distant past, Genji maintained his silence. He probably felt that to confess that would be to betray his one and only master in the most serious way, even though that person was already dead. Beatrice has revived as a witch, and she is in the mansion even now. That was his mantra, what he had believed, what he had made others believe, and Genji would take that with him to the grave. This might have been the last service he could offer his master. The legend of the witch, the mysterious tale of Rokenjima that was still whispered of amongst the servants. Its true nature was a sad lie. No, an act of kindness towards a grandfather who had lost the person he loved above all else.
私はお父様の前で魔女を否定する話を何度か口にした覚えがあります。
As any sane person would.
今ならそれがどれだけお父様を傷つけていたか。
今の僕にならわかるよ。シャノンを蘇らせる方法が黒魔術だというなら、僕は今すぐにもこの部屋の次の主となって研究を始めるよ。
兄貴。
Another strand of tears dripped from George's eyes. Maybe it was infectious. Tears rose to Jessica's eyes too, and she sniffled.
ベアトリーチェは言っていたよ。もうじき蘇ることができる。会うことができるって。
Very soon, the door to the Golden Land will be opened. And that promised land that glitters gold shall resurrect all the dead people's souls and revive the love they possessed as well. And I will sleep in a world of peacefulness forevermore.
そう言ったのか。マリアに手紙を渡したベアトリーチェは。
信じないよね。
ここにじいさまがいたならきっと喜んだろうな。もうじきベアトリーチェが蘇ることにさぞや踊り上がって喜んだろうな。なら俺は信じたぜ。じいさまが半生をかけて研究したことで蘇り、愛した女の魂が蘇ったと信じて寿命を全うできるって言うんなら俺も信じたぜ。
バトラー。
一人の女性をずっと愛し続けた気持ちが周りにも伝わり真実となる。それを気遣いと呼べばそれまでだろうけれど、今の僕は あえてそれを魔法と呼んであげたいね。
気遣いじゃないよ。本当に魔法だよ。魔女だよ。
Yeah, 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 we got it already. Yeah, 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 kihihi, yeah.
やっぱり誰にもベアトリーチェの姿は見えないんだね。
I'm no longer impressed by Maria's thing, whatever that is. Some time passed. As we listened to the sound of the rain, we considered what kind of love and madness must have possessed the owner of this room, as he spent half of his life here. Okay.
女の私から言えば、お父様の純愛の気持ちも少しは理解したいところですが、それではお母様の立つ瀬がありません。
同感だぜ。浮気は浮気。綺麗事にされちゃかなわねえよな。
それもそうだな。
I mean, if I understood it correctly, Beatrice died before he decided to marry someone else. So, he didn't technically cheat. He just had his feelings towards someone else. Which, given the fact that this was an arranged marriage for the purpose of, reviving and making the family blossom, I don't know, did he owe her the feelings too? That's something for each of us to consider and come to our own conclusions, I guess.
ばあさまが気の毒になっちまうぜ。
それでベアトリーチェとおじい様の間に子供がいたなんて話はある？
The keyword Beatrice had been hidden in every corner of this case, so it's natural to suspect any relative of Beatrice.
いえ、そのような話は聞いたことがありません。
仮にいたとしたら、最愛の人の忘れがたみとしてきっと全ての愛情を注ぎ込んだだろうね。それがなく黒魔術に没頭していったなら、子供はいなかったと考えるべきなのかな。
そういえばこんな噂を聞いたことがあるぜ。知ってるだろ？じい様が福音の家っていう福祉施設に莫大な援助をしてるって話。
よしなさい。それはお父様を冒涜する中傷に過ぎません。
教えてくれよ、夏日おばさん。隠し事はなしなのはおばさんもだと思うっすよ。
Okay, you got
くだ
my
らない
attention.
話です。お父様はその施設に莫大な援助をし、社会勉強の一環として当家の使用人雇用枠を開放していました。それをお父様に汚らわしい趣味があると吹聴する愚か者がいたというだけの話です。
一時期それが黒魔術の生贄にするためだみたいな噂になってさ。
Hey,
実際いつもこの部屋で怪しげな実験や儀式を繰り返してたわけで、私も半分は信じてたところがあったぜ。
その福音の家出身の使用人ってのは？
何人かいますが、親族会議中のシフトではシャノンとカノンの2人でした。
To resurrect Beatrice, he had summoned servants from a welfare institute. As sacrifices?
確かにじい様が使用人として選ぶのはいつもシャノンやカノン君くらいの若い子ばかり。私だってじい様には妙な趣味があるに違いないって信じてたぜ。
ジェシカ、言葉を慎みなさい。
When on Natsuhi scolded her, the atmosphere instantly went sour, and everyone fell quiet. However, something was tugging at the back of my mind. Sacrifices. Sacrifices. Sacrifices brought over from the gospel house. What is it? Tricky words like sacrifices don't pop up often. Yet I've seen or heard that word somewhere recently. Some part of my memory is tugging at me. Come on, Beatrice. What do you know? I had arrived in front of the portrait of Beatrice. It wasn't as vast as the one in the entrance hall, but that portrait, which he must have had drawn by some famous painter, was still just as intimidating in this smaller size. Below it, just like in the entrance hall, was the epitaph said to point out the place where the gold was hidden.
生贄だ。
なんだよパトラ、 急に気持ち悪いこと言うなよ。
生贄を6人。
Both of my eyes opened as wide as plates. Right there, everything had been predicted since the very beginning. Everyone crowded around, and the same expression of terror filled every face. Yes, it was written in the epitaph. On the first twilight, sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key.
間違いない。最初に死んだのは6人だ。そしてシャッターに書かれた魔法陣じゃねえ、ヘブライ語でも生贄を捧げると書いてあった。
おお、マリアは最初からそう言ってる。
That's right, Maria had said it at the very beginning. Right after we found the 6th body, when Maria was in the parlor watching TV, she had said it. Ooh, killer's not human, just the sacrifices chosen by the key.
これは黄金の隠し場所なんかじゃねえ。黒魔術か何かの復活の儀式の手順なんだ。確かこの碑文には大勢の死が必要になるはず。
I mean, you're just now putting it together.
ざっと読むだけでも 6+2+5 で13人は死ななくちゃならないことになってるぜ。
普段はこの島には何人いるんですか？
使用人のシフトにもよるでしょうが、お父様、夫に、私にジェシカ、そして使用人が 2,3 人。昨日今日は5人いてもらってますが、普段はそこまでいません。
ってことはだ、この儀式を実行しようとしたら普段じゃ生贄が足らないってわけだ。いや違うぜ。じいさまは福音の家から不気味な儀式の生贄にするために使用人を取ったという噂。
つまりなんだよ、生贄の人数を増やすために使用人を増やし、さらに人数が集まる年に一度の親族会議はこの儀式を執り行える年にたった一度唯一のタイミングだったってことじゃねえか。
When Jessica screamed this, Maria broke out in that creepy laugh, looking truly pleased. Oh man.
人は運気を試すためにある種の確率に願掛けをすることがない？
Like throwing a sandal and saying that if it lands right side up, tomorrow will be sunny. Or saying that tomorrow will be a good day if a coin lands on heads. There are many little superstitions like that. If you're fed up at how nothing is going right for you, and you happen to roll some dice and get 3 6s, it would probably make you want to believe that it's a sign of some miracle. When flipping a sandal, you have at worst a 50% chance. Even if you get it right side up, it's not worth much. But if you carelessly roll 3 dice and they all come up 6, you might think that's a small miracle.
魔術にもそういう考えはあるんだよ。
It's funny how that works, because if you roll 3 dice, any combination has the same probability of showing up. It's just we assign such a high importance to the ones that, I don't know, follow some sort of pattern that, you know, we thought about beforehand. Oh, it would be so unlikely that it lands on this.
限りなくありえない出目を期待してひたすらに祈祷を続ける。そうして蓄えられた祈祷の念は奇跡の出目が現れた時魔力をもって具現化される。おじいさまがしようとした魔術は多分そういうもの。鍵が無作為に選ぶ生贄の抽選。それに万が一自分が当たることがないように、この島に最も人が多くなる日を選んで儀式を実行した。
バカバカしい。これらが全て怪しげな魔法の儀式の過程で起こった事件だと言い出すのですか。
Natsuhi yelled. She couldn't stop thinking fearfully about how she might have been protected just because of the scorpion charm. If I hadn't received that charm from Jessica and hung it from my doorknob, would I have been killed? Been one of those 6? And the strangest part is, even though I hung the charm from the inside of my door, they couldn't get through the door. The killer had noticed the charm from outside the door and had given up trying to open the door. A human couldn't have perceived that. The charm meant to stop someone that was not human. Had done just that. I mean, if that's how you want to think about it.
だが夏日さん、確かに碑文の内容はその後をなぞっとる。
第二の晩に残されし者は寄り添う二人を引き裂け。これはエヴァ様たちのことを指しているのでしょうか。
Yeah, but I really don't understand what that means. Those who remain shall tear apart the two who are close? Who tore them apart? Like...
悔しいけどそうだと判断せざるを得ない。そして母さんたちを殺した犯人は続く第三の晩の言葉を手紙に書き、その場に残したんだからね。
そうだな。第二の晩を実行し、第三の晩をその場に残した。第三の晩はまさにさっき夏日おばさんが読んだ通りだぜ。
On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. Okay. Ah, now I read it. It just keeps going on, doesn't it? On the fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. Oh god. Gouge the head and kill. George Aniki's parents were killed with the demon's ice picks gouged into their heads. But if that counted as the second twilight, someone else must be gouged in the head.
じいさまだ。
Yeah, like from the beginning, I couldn't understand exactly what the letter was referring to. Not the letter, sorry, the epitaph was referring to in terms of twilight, because you would assume it's like on the first night, on the second night, on the whatever, but it's only been 2 nights, so we're already like past number 2, and we're still trying to equate things to events. I'm confused.
焼却炉の中で焼かれてたから、そっちに目がいっちまって気づかなかったが。じいさまも眉間に、いや、頭をえぐられてた。
じいさまが第4の晩の犠牲者。じゃあカノン君は
第5の晩に胸をえぐりて殺せ。カノン君については犯人との突発的な遭遇による犯行だと思ってたけど、違う。誰か一人をおびき出し胸を貫くことを初めから狙っていたんだ。
もし犯人がこれをなぞっているとしたなら、まだ3人が死ななければならないというのですか。
On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. Oh god. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill.
確かにそう読み取れますけど。
いや、そいつはどうかな。あと3人が死ねば第9の晩になる。見てみろよ。
On the 9th twilight, the witch revives, and none shall be left alive.
私たちはベアトリーチェにみんな殺される。
わけがわかんねえ。結局何人いようが最後には全員死ぬってことじゃねえか。じいさまは何が目的だったんだ。この儀式じゃじいさま自身何をどうしたって生き残れねえじゃないか。
誰も生き残れなくていいんだよ。
Yeah.
第10の晩には黄金鏡にたどり着く。
On the 10th twilight, the journey ends, and you shall reach the home of the gold. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow 4 treasures.
おじいさまは死を恐れてなんかいなかったんだよ。ほら、4つの宝の2番と3番を見てごらんよ。
一つは全ての死者の魂を蘇らせ。
Yeah, I have. Like it's no longer doing anything for me. It's just annoying at this point. It might also be. I have to put it out there. I haven't had the best day today, so my fuse is a little shorter than usual. There's some things that maybe I would have had like a lot more patience for another days. Today I'm not having it. I'm trying to contain it, but like this Maria thing is just like no, okay, sure, kihihi, Yeah, okay, let's go. Everyone hates the Maria of episode 1. I don't hate her. There's a slowly manifesting Rosa. No, I don't want to be violent towards her. It's just the whole shtick is not doing anything for me today. I'm just okay, sure, Maria. Yeah, let's proceed. That's all. I also hate the Maria of every other episode. Oh no. I don't want to hate her, but it's just I got over it. I don't know. It's no longer interesting. I just want, you know, to hear the people talk and hear their thoughts about stuff and how they interpret it, and maybe learn more about their past. Like we learned some tidbits about Kinzo's past right now. Like I'm interesting to gain information, and I feel that whenever Maria speaks, is so dragged along with the whole deep voice, witch style, crazy eyes, and kihihis that I feel like there isn't much substance there aside from, you know, all of the quirks, I suppose. So I just, yeah, that's why I'm a little bit dismissive of her tonight. I admit it. Maybe I'll feel differently next time. Maria, best girl. Not to me right now. I leave it open for the future, but tonight I just want to learn things about the story, right? So I feel like every time she speaks, she's kind of like holding it in place, and I just want to get over it. I'm not saying she doesn't have anything informative to say. She does have some things to say, but they're all like wrapped into all of the, you know, spiel and shtick and kihihis that I have little patience for it tonight. Well, excuse me. I didn't mean to offend anyone. I'm allowed to have my own opinion and preferences, I would say. But also, hi. Nice to have you in chat.
一つは失った愛すらも蘇らせる。つまりおじい様は自分がこの儀式の途中で死んでしまってもやがては復活できると信じてた。
バカバカしいぜ。妄言だぜ。死んだらそれまでだろ。
I was actually quite fine with the woos. I was fine with that. It was cute. But this, I'm like, no. Not tonight.
死者は生き返らない。
Hey? Okay, Zecto. Whatever you say, my man.
人類が何千年もかけて追い求め、結局は未だに成し遂げられない奇跡だぜ。つまり、
I have no idea what it is.
死後の世界で再会できて蘇ることができるとか、そういう類だろ。
ジェシカの言い分通りだとするなら、老い先短いじい様が恋に狂っての自殺まがい。いや、壮大な無理心中ってことなのか。
Ah, okay, I'm supposed to not know what it is. Okay, great. I'll move past it. You guys keep communicating in code if you want to. You have my blessing, it's fine. Alright, thank you, Bear. I had no idea. I hadn't never heard about it. You're always there to educate me. I appreciate it.
ケンジ、その可能性は考えられるのですか？
わかりません。
Oh, and it's an Umineko's specialty. Okay, I feel flattered.
親方様は時に千年の未来を見越されるほどの聡明なお方です。しかし凡庸な私にはそれが狂気としか映らないこともあります。
I mean, 1,000 years?
それってイエスって意味だよな。熊沢さんはどうなんだよ。
私は何も知りません。知りませんとも。知っていたなら今日この島にいると思いますか？ 仮病でも何でも使ってお休みしていますよ。
おじい様の長年の友人である南條先生のご意見は？
源氏さんに同じです。金蔵さんは凡人をはるかに超越した方だった。そこにある種の人間離れした力すらも感じることはありました。私にも金蔵さんが何を考えてこの碑文を残されたのかわからない。
一つだけ言えるのは、仮にこの筋書きを作ったのがお父様であっても、実行しているのは別の人間だということです。
確かに、少なくともじい様とカノン君を襲った犯人は他にいる。しかもそいつはこの碑文通りまだ事件を続けようとしている。
僕たちが深く考えなかった最初の手紙、あれにはなんて書いてあっただろ
We thought back to the recitation of the letter last night. Beatrice had proclaimed something inside the letter. She had proclaimed that in accordance with her contract with Kinzo, she would collect everything of the Ushiromiya family as interest. But then she had also revealed a special clause. If someone discovered the location of the gold grandfather had hidden, that right would be lost. At the time that the letter had been read, grandfather was still alive. But at that time, it had already been sealed with wax by the head's ring, which meant that grandfather had handed the ring over to Beatrice while he was still alive. Aw, you're so sweet. Yeah, no, it's enjoyable in the sense that, you know, it makes my mind spin a little bit, but it also makes me think. And yeah, I so far, this is what, the 9th stream? Yeah, my general experience with the streams is that I look at the time and I'm like, oh my god, is it already like an hour in, 2 hours in? I had not realized when time had passed, so that's a good thing. I'm so engrossed in it that I don't realize when time goes by, so I think that's a good sign. If you think about that straightforwardly, we should probably take that to mean that Beatrice is carrying out that strange contract and grandfather is securing her that right. Simply put, it was the same as saying that grandfather knew of and approved of the contents of that letter. Well, I said it in the beginning as well, but obviously that's fine because you just joined it. You didn't catch that part. I am not much of a detective or sleuth, or like I don't really have the skill set for this. So I'm just gonna... I kind of landed in a place where as we go by, if I have a feeling of something or a certain thought, I'm gonna try to express it. But it doesn't mean anything either way. I'm not making any definitive conclusions because I feel like no matter how much I try, I would still be missing vital pieces of information that a novel doesn't want me to know, or that just I don't have the ability to know because at least Bea mentioned something like I would need to be versed in I don't know how many languages and I don't know how many, you know, things that I just like domains that I have no contact with, so I feel like I will always be missing something and I will never be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I will still like say what I feel, but I'm not definitely gonna go for like, ooh, I figured it out, it's this, right? Because part of the ride, at least for me, it's enjoyable to like kind of try to explore all the possibilities but still let the novel surprise me at the end, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of somewhere in the middle trying to find my own way around it. Pretty much. Simply put, it was the same as saying that grandfather knew of and approved of the contents of that letter. In other words, it's as though it was a joint message from Beatrice and grandfather. It's neat like that. Yeah, that is true. It does that. Telling us that Beatrice will start collecting interest if we don't solve the riddle. In short, grandfather and Beatrice were telling us to solve the epitaph's riddle. Alright, I see. Yeah, the thing is, I don't know if I want to go to that extreme of like putting in the time to figure it out myself. I kinda, at least for myself, would enjoy being like on the brink of it, or maybe having some instincts, maybe having some of them proven wrong, maybe having some of them proven right, but in the end, just letting the novel reveal whatever it wants to reveal. And if there are things left hanging or loose or open-ended, then we can stop and have a talk, and I can say, okay, I kind of feel this or feel that. But yeah, I definitely am not gonna go for the 100% solving on my own. It's fine. Right. And if we couldn't, they were saying they would kill us all, following the procedure in the epitaph. What meaning is there to that? What do they want? I don't have a clue what it means. Alright, yeah, thank you.
ほら、ベアトリーチェからまた手紙だよ。
なんだって？
Oh god. Maria was pointing at the top of the table where the canned food that everyone had been eating just now still lay. A Western-style envelope was sitting there, but so what? Aunt Natsuhi let out a hysterical cry, looking between her own hand and the table. Because the envelope that she had just opened was still grasped in her hand. And despite that, there's an envelope on the table?
なんだよ。どういうことだよ、マリア。その封筒はどこから出てきたんだ。
今見たら置いてあった。
私は何も知りませんよ。何も。
冗談じゃねえ。ここには俺たち8人しかいねえんだぞ。9人目がこっそり忍び込んでいたなんてこともあるわけがねえ。俺たちがちょいと肖像画の前に集まっていたわずかの隙しかないんだぞ。
全員下がりなさい。壁へ下がりなさい。
Oh god, Natsuhi! Natsuhi was pointing at the rifle at Genji and the others, bellowing at them. Genji-san was overpowered, his face looking like he didn't have a clue what was going on. Of course, I felt the same, but a few moments late, I reached the same conclusion Aunt Natsuhi had. One of you did it! Until just a few seconds ago, there was no letter like this on the table. And nobody had entered this room. That means someone among us had placed it there during the few seconds when everyone was looking away, preoccupied with the portrait. I think episode 1 is too early. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing a lot. I play America mode. Hi, Kevin.
バトラ君、この封筒を開けて中身を読んで。
Big guns, yeah.
Oh.
I picked up the envelope. It was still sealed with wax. Even without disturbing its contents, I realized that this was an unopened envelope. An unknown envelope. Oh my god. I know I wanted that second letter to contain a bit more, and I was completely blindsided by it being one sentence, but I don't know if this is what I wanted, because now this feels very creepy. Without relying on a letter opener, I violently tore it open and pulled out the letter inside. The contents were as follows.
金蔵様の碑文の謎をお楽しみいただいているでしょうか。すでにご存知と思いますが、皆様方には時間が多くは残されてはおりません。
Yikes!
どうか嵐が過ぎ去れば逃げ出すことができるという甘えをお捨てくださいませ。
That part I think anyone could guess from the very beginning. Like, from the beginning when we arrived and it was stormy and like a typhoon would come, there was no doubt in my mind. They were not gonna leave the next day, nor the day after that, nor the day after that. Yeah.
このゲームには私と皆様方のどちらが勝つかの結果しかない。
Goosebump moment, yeah.
時間切れは私の勝ちとなる。引き分けはありません。
Voice actress is cool.
そこをどうか誤解なきようお願い申し上げます。
って内容だぜ。
この手紙を誰が置いたかは明白ではありません。ですが疑わしき人物を絞ることはできました。あなたたちです。
ホークス 様、それはあんまりにございます。
私は肖像画の前に行く直前、ここに缶詰を置きました。その時、このような怪しげな手紙は決して置かれていなかったことを確認しています。そしてその時、すでにジェシカとジョージ君、バトラ君は肖像画の前にいた。そして彼らはこの手紙が現れるまで肖像画の前を離れていない。つまりあなたたち4人の中にその手紙を置いた人物がいる。ベアトリーチェがいる。
おお、ベアトリーチェはマリアたちじゃない。ベアトリーチェはいるもん。
お黙りなさい。あなたたちの中の一人が疑わしいのか、全員が疑わしいのか分かりません。しかし確実にあなたたちの中に犯人が混じっている。
そうだぜ。
Yeah, you mean the character profiles? We've been checking them, like here, right? But I don't know, important documents, I don't know what that means. Where? So these are characters here, right? I wasn't smiling at that, I was just like trying to assess the situation. I wasn't smiling because she yelled at Maria. It's okay. That's not what I was. Ah, the tips part. Yeah, I've been looking at it. It has the letters, okay. I've been looking at it when there were like expressions that I didn't know. Oh yeah, you're right. It has here the epitaph and the letters. Okay, yeah, good. Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah, because I had a moment last week and I was like, I can't remember in which order the epitaph goes, or like what was the thing that was gonna happen on the first Twilight and the second and whatever. I couldn't picture the order in my mind anymore, but I didn't like dwell on it too much. I just let it flow. But yeah, that's a good tip. Thank you. I could check it, you know, off stream, just refresh my memory in between streams. Yeah, thank you. I will do that. But like, I feel like Natsuhi's reaction here, like I totally understand her, but from an external point of view, it strictly relies on her observations, which only she can corroborate. So it kind of falls into the same pitfall as, for me at least, as Eva's whole shtick with the receipt in the door. It's all based on her word, and this is all based on Natsuhi's word, who literally said that she set a can on the table. So who stops her from being the one to put the letter down, you know?
19人目なんかいるわけがない。
Especially since she had an envelope in her hand. So it would have been kind of like, it wouldn't have been weird for someone to sneak a glance at her and see her with an envelope in the hand, because she had already had the other one, so she could kind of like mask it in some way, maybe? I don't know. I'm just saying, she's having an emotional reaction here. I hope she calms down, because I still like her, but this is not the way, girl. This is not the way. Natsuhi was standing in front of Battler? Okay. Then I have to revisit it and remember where everyone was, because it's hard to tell, or hard to remember, or like for me to visualize and remember the pointers from before and kind of like place them in space in my mind. Natsuhi would never overreact, you think? Ohara Sayaka's voiced Yutu Nezu, your which character? Ichihara Yuko. Ah! Okay, I get it. Nice. That's why the voice was so familiar. I was thinking, I gotta check who she is, because that sounds very familiar. Alright.
魔女なんかいるわけがないんだ。カノン君を殺したのだって。そうさ。熊沢さんなら説明できるよ。熊沢さんは本当はカノン君と一緒にボイラー室に入り殺したんだ。
I mean, you can't say that's the truth. You don't know. You're having an emotional reaction too. It was Beatrice who... Like, having them turn against each other, in the case that the killer is not someone from this room and it's someone else that, I don't know, maybe faked their death or whatever. Having them turn against each other, it's exactly what they're being played into with this.
そして後から来たらもう倒れていたと嘘をついた。
構誤解です、お嬢様。私がなぜそのようなことを。
Like, this is the absolute worst thing to do in a situation like this. And I'm saying that I am the most emotional person in the world. This is not the thing to do. You have to stay calm. Because otherwise you lose, like, if you don't have your sanity and you're calm, you lose everything in this kind of situation. At least that's my 2 cents.
母さんたちをどうやってあの密室で殺したのかは見当もつかない。でも母さんたちが殺された時、使用人の人たち以外の全員にはアリバイがあった。なかったのは使用人の人たちだけ。でも本当に疑ってもいいんだろうか。
Wasn't Battler in the kitchen with them? Like, there was Nanjo, there was Kanon, there was Kumasawa in the kitchen. Wasn't Battler there talking with them? Natsuhi's going Mama Bear mode. Yeah, I understand that's where it's coming from, but I hope she tones it down. Like, I hope she realizes that it's not it. Should we really be so quick to make that judgment? But this time, in this room, in this place, in this moment, in this minimally small bit of time and space, it's obvious. Only one of the 4 of them could have said the letter there in our blind spot. We can't tell who put it there, but it's obvious that one of the 4 did it. And usually, when something is so obvious, it's because that's not it. But something is ridiculously obvious, you gotta doubt it. At least, or at least question it a little bit.
夏日さん、どうか落ち着きなさい。今日一日いろいろなことがあった。心が参っているのはよくわかります。
南條先生をお疑い申し上げるのは非常に心苦しいです。ですが、お父様の主治医として、唯一無二の親友として、長くお父様と共にあられた。ベアトリーチェのことも知っているかもしれない。何かの古いしがらみを知っていて隠しているのではありませんか？
そんなはずはない。落ち着きなさい。
It was pitiful to watch Dr. Nanjo frantically pleading his innocence. It was probably a normal reaction that anyone would give if they were suspected. Kumasawa was the same. Since Jessica had started suspecting her in the murder of Kanon, she was now totally flustered. That was why Genji's still calm appearance looked so bold. Aunt Natsuhi pointed the barrel of the gun.
Genji, あなたはお父様の一番の部下です。ベアトリーチェとはあなたがお父様に見せた幻想で、あなたこそがその実行者だったのではないのですか？
そうお疑いいただけるのは、奥様が私を親方様の一番のしもべだとお認めいただけたということで、このような場ではありますが、とても名誉なことだと存じます。しかしこの手紙を置いたのは私ではありません。
それを私が鵜呑みにできると思いますか？お前が首謀者に決まっています。あるいは熊沢も南條先生もその共犯かもしれない。マリアちゃんもです。
Not content to doubt just the adults, Aunt Natsuhi pointed the gun relentlessly at Maria too. I mean, look, I'm over her witch spiel, but still, she's just a kid. Like, come on. But Maria acted as though nothing had happened. Or maybe she thought she would be fine even if she was shot.
マリアちゃん、今この場ではもう幼いから疑いの枠から外すという段階にない。
I mean, yeah, sure, I can agree with that.
だから誰もが昨夜からずっと持ってきた疑問をもう一度ぶつけさせてもらいます。昨日バラ庭園であなたに手紙を渡したベアトリーチェは誰です？
マリア、ごまかすんじゃねえぜ。
Genji is too badass for all this. Yes. Yes, that I appreciate very much.
この際はっきりさせろ。
He can be guilty later on. I'm still gonna appreciate just how badass he is in moments like these.
お前に手紙を渡したのは誰なんだよ。
だから何度も言ってるよ。ベアトリーチェだよ。1000年を生きる黄金の魔女なんだよ。 姿を知りたければ後ろを振り返ればいい。ほら、そこにいるよ、ベアトリーチェが。
She's doing this again.
バカにしてんのかてめえ。
Okay, Jessica.
よせ、
No.
ジェシカ。
Thank you, Battler.
マリアもよせ。状況が分かってんのか。そんなこと言って何になるってんだ。無意味な挑発はよしやがらってんだ。
マリアにはわかんないよ。バトラたちは誰が犯人ならいいの？自分たちの中に犯人がいると信じたくない時だけベアトリーチェを信じて、親しい人を殺された恨みを晴らしたい時だけ暴力をぶつけられる人間の犯人を信じたがってベアトリーチェを否定する。
This I will give to Maria. This is the truth. This is exactly what's been happening, and Battler has admitted it in his thoughts that we have been observing. This is it. This is the circle they're spinning in.
だから見えないんだよ。ベアトリーチェはいる。お前たちには見えない。
黙りなさい。あなたが犯人だと決めつけたくはありませんが、この状況を不愉快にさせて楽しんでいる利的行為者であることはもはや疑いの余地もありません。
ならどうするの？マリアを撃つ？別にいいよ。もうすぐ黄金鏡の扉が開かれる。そして全ての死者が蘇る。今や死は恐れるべきことではないんだよ。
母さん、やっぱりこいつは怪しいよ。
Everyone is.
一緒になんかいられないよ。
でも夏日おばさん、どうか落ち着いて。マリアちゃんを撃つ理由は何もない。どうか冷静に。手紙は挑発するけど何も恐れることはない。犯人だって明日が怖いんだ。警察が怖いんだ。この島は今無秩序に支配されているけれど、それは台風で隔離されているからだけに過ぎない。
One very confident 9-year-old. Yeah, I guess so.
台風が過ぎれば秩序が戻ってくる。だからおばさん、撃っちゃいけない。
なんでジョージ兄さんはそんなにも冷静なんだよ。この4人の中に犯人がいる。
Yeah, okay, let's all lose our minds together because that's gonna accomplish something. It's not.
いや、あるいは4人が全員来るかもしれない。この中にエヴァおばさんたちを殺した犯人がいるかもしれないってのに、なんでそんなに冷静なんだよ。
僕だって犯人を見つけて殺してやりたい気持ちはあるさ。でもそれは単なる蛮行だ。僕は罪の裁きを秩序に任せる。だからどんなに疑わしくても引き金を引いてはいけないんだ。
ジョージの兄貴に同じだ。夏日おばさん、ここはちょいと冷静になろうぜ。とにかく撃つのはまずいぜ。こういう時はよ、頭を後ろに反らしてクールになれって3回唱えるといいらしいぜ。
はっきりさせておきます。魔女などいない。ここは六軒島で、ここは後宮家の本家屋敷です。後宮家代表、後宮夏日として宣言します。ここには魔女などいない。ベアトリーチェなど認めない。何を企もうとも娘たちには指一本触れさせない。それが母としての、当家代表としての務めです。
Those words. Whew. Were the final words of farewell that settled everything. To protect her daughter, Aunt Natsuhi would regard any suspicious person as an enemy. The only reason Georgianiki and I were standing on this side was because, by coincidence, we had a clear alibi regarding the letter. If I hadn't approached the portrait, I too may have been at the other end of that gun barrel, treated like a criminal. But even though part of me thought that, part of me was thinking that chasing all of the suspicious people from the room would finally guarantee our safety. This was a weird game of Among Us before there was ever a game of Among Us. Genji-san, Kumasawa-san, and Dr. Nanjo, all of them were on grandfather's side. You could even say that Maria was on grandfather's side since she had a blind belief in Beatrice. That's right, they're all suspicious. But is this really alright? Yes, thank you. That is the basic question now. Is it really alright for us to fight back against the lawlessness of the witch by throwing out all the suspicious ones without due process? Suspicious ones, sorry. Now what? Aunt Natsuhi didn't tell them to leave with her own words. But with wordless pressure, she was inducing them to say that themselves. So if Dr. Nanjo hadn't said those words, this cold silence would surely have continued forever.
落ち着きなさい、夏日さん。だが気持ちはよくわかる。わしだって今朝からの異常な事件続きで頭がどうかなってしまいそうだ。だからわしらを疑いたい気持ちもよくわかる。
もし本当に南條先生が無関係なら、私は無礼極まりないことをしているのだと思います。ですが、今だけは分かってください。
分かった。わしらは部屋を出ましょう。どうですかな、源氏さん。客間に戻ってチェスの続きといきませんかな。
それをお望みでしたら。
I'm suddenly filled by fear for all of them. God.
私は嫌ですよ。だってこの中に狼がいると分かってて部屋から追い出されてしまうんですよ。嫌ですよ、奥様。どうかお許しください。
What Kumasawa-san was trying to say made total sense. If she was innocent, then she was being ejected into dangerous territory along with the culprit. In the current situation, pressing her to leave this room along with the suspects was almost exactly the same as letting her get killed. However, Kumasawa-san really was suspicious just for being the first one to discover that Kanon-kun had been murdered. I mean, by that logic, anyone who discovered any of the other things is suspicious. How do I put it? I'm not denying that these things that they're bringing up are suspicious and they cast doubt over those people, but I feel that all of them have something that casts doubt about them, and at the same time that doubt cannot be definitive or like turned into 100% certainty. Yes, they did it. And this is valid for all of them, including Natsuhi. So, I don't know, I'm conflicted. The internal conflict and all the different reactions of the characters is so interesting. Yeah, I know. I love how the character interactions are written in Umineko. Yep, it is very well written. 10 out of 10. I'm enjoying myself. But also, my stomach is really tiny right now. At that time, everyone except Kumasawa-san had an alibi. As long as the use of some trick or the existence of some 19th person could not be established, Kumasawa-san was one of the most likely suspects by far. Okay, but when Kanon went by himself, you were like, no, don't go by yourself, take Kumasawa-san with you. So, which is it? Let's vote to eject her into space. No! Holy mackerel. Oh god. I didn't want to believe it. However, Aunt Natsuhi and the rest of us were in such a difficult situation that we couldn't help doubting any of them, Kumasawa-san included. So we didn't say anything to stop Aunt Natsuhi from trying to oppressively chase them from the room. We had stopped her from shooting, but when it came to exiling them from the room, we were passively agreeing. Maria spoke to the still fretful Kumasawa-san.
大丈夫だよ。ベアトリーチェは敬う人には優しいから。熊沢さんはベアトリーチェがいるって信じてるもん。だからきっと大丈夫だよ。マリアは客間でテレビを見るよ。一緒に見ようよ。ここ、テレビがなくてつまんないもん。
At least Maria is taking care of Kumasawa-san. It looked like Kumasawa found Maria's roguish laugh very frightening. However, the 3 other people had agreed to leave the room. Kumasawa couldn't fight the flow and had to agree, crying as she left the room. Oh, my heart is breaking.
それでは夏日さん。
And they're all like on the older side, like Genji, except Maria. Like Genji, Nanjo, and Kumasawa, like they're the elders of this group, right? It feels so bad. I feel bad being rude and mean to someone who's just old.
今夜はこれで。また明日お会いしましょう。
今夜だけは分かってください。
I mean, haven't you learned so far that, like, oh, just for tonight, there's no such thing?
警察が来たら全員に今夜のこの無礼を必ず謝罪しますから。チェスもよろしいでしょうか。できたら安全なところに。
Which is it? Are you suspecting him or are you being kind to him? Like, leave us because I suspect you, but please be safe. Which is it, girl?
現地頼みます。
かしこまりました。
I'm so conflicted.
仕方ありませんね。小面の熊が一番恐ろしいと言いますから。
源氏も熊沢も本当に申し訳ありません。また明日お会いしましょう。マリアちゃんも冷たいおばさんをどうか許して。
マリアは許す。
Yeah, Maria has no problem.
奥様、この部屋の鍵です。2本すべてをお預けします。
Genji-san pulled the 2 golden keys from his pocket and handed them to Aunt Natsuhi.
それから私が持っているお屋敷内の鍵束もお預けいたします。
Yeah, she is in this weird middle space between it's rational to suspect him, and I agree, but I don't know how to explain it. It is rational to suspect them, and at the same time she has this appreciation for them. And it is weird times that all of them are going through, and they mess with your head and everything, but just land on one side in this moment, because like earlier you were almost gonna shoot them. Yeah? So at least, hold your ground and be like, firm in what you're, because now she's like kind of like backing up a little bit and being soft, but like, I don't know. It's weird. Hey, Lunar Festival. It's weird. That's basically how Umineko is. Natsuhi does the right thing, I thought, when I read it the first time. My gut feeling in the moment, whenever it's a situation like this, don't split up. No matter what. It's the worst thing you can do. Just don't. She's a loving person ultimately. I don't think she can be completely ruthless. That is true. That is true, but it's a big emotional and moral dilemma. It is. It is. It is. I don't know. I feel like I would want her to own it a little bit more, but in the end, I guess she only got to that point where she was threatening them all with the gun because she got like all overprotective and mama bear about the other people in the room. But now that she kind of calmed down, she's kind of coming back to herself, and she's conflicted in this weird space in between the two sides of like, I want them gone away because I think this is the right thing to do, but at the same time I feel bad for doing this to them. Something like that. The longest and most intense session of Among Us you'll ever read. Yes, definitely. I will never need to play the game because I have had this and nothing will top this experience. To the servants, those keys were probably the proof of their position. Being placed in charge of those keys meant that they were trusted, relied upon. Being forced to return them meant that they had lost that trust. Thinking about it this way, there could have been no greater humiliation for Genji-san, who had served here for all these years. However, his usual indifferent expression remained on his face.
源氏、私はお前をお父様がお亡くなりになったら長年の苦労をねぎらって退職を許すつもりでいました。
And yet, 5 minutes ago you were about to shoot him. Remember that part?
なのにこのような仕打ちを私は心より恥じます。
私は親方様より今日までの日々はそれに対するご恩返しの日々であっただけです。どうかお気にやまれませんよ。
それでは参りますかな、皆さん。おやすみなさい。
I mean, now whatever happens, there's a lot more variables and unknowns and weaker alibis for everyone because the group has been cut in half.
おやすみ。バトラもおやすみ。
I'm scared for them.
マリ、ちょっと待て。
Guilt made me call Maria back. I groped around in my pocket and took out that scorpion key holder.
これ、魔除けなんだろ。身につけとけ。
バトラ、確か落としてなくしたって。
あん時は、なんか尺になって、なくしたとかほら吹いただけだ。お前の大切なお守りを、なくすわけねえだろ。
Maria silently took the charm. I was unable to say anything after that.
それでは皆様、おやすみなさいませ。
Unable to respond, we watched them leave, our expressions completely tired out. And until the door closed and we heard the auto lock, we were unable to even draw our next breath. Then, when I was finally allowed to take a breath, I noticed that Beatrice's letter, which I had been gripping the whole time, and which was soaked with my sweat, actually had 2 sheets! Oh, there we go. The paper had been tightly stuck together, so I had mistakenly thought that there was only one. There was nothing written on the second sheet. The thing drawn there was a magic circle written with a red ink like blood. Just like how every magic circle up until then had been different. This magic circle was one that I had never laid eyes on. Why does it look like the Triforce? I don't like that. The Triforce is something nice. Inside the circle, a large triangle and a small triangle were fit together in a simple design. But just as before, there was writing in Hebrew, and it seemed clear that it held some kind of meaning. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to have Maria around this time? Just saying. I wanted to know what that could be, but we had just chased Maria, the only person who could understand the meaning of magic circles, out of the room. Like, yes, I agree. Her whole witch speak, crazy eyes, and kihihi was like kind of getting there for me. But I don't dismiss the fact that she had valuable information to impart, and she would have been valuable here as well. I thought of the magic circles as a second set of messages from Beatrice. Yeah, I know. I have been told. I will do that. What does this one mean? Damn it. We've chased out all the suspicious people. Now all we have to do is stay barricaded here until morning, and then will everything be over? I mean, I don't know, you have a bunch of books about the occult there. Start looking through them, I suppose. Once the typhoon has passed, when the seagulls cry, will everything be resolved? But the letter that had unexpectedly appeared in the study had rejected that naivety. It had made it very clear that if time ran out, it would mean victory for the witch. When time runs out, is the witch planning to take on the offensive? When the sea cats cry. Is she finally planning to display some fearful magical power? Maybe something that could have been used to kill 6 adults at once? Wait, when is time supposed to run out? I don't know. Anything.
これでもう安全です。
You think?
もう
Hmm?
絶対に。
Even as she said that, Aunt Natsuhi couldn't stop gripping that rifle. There was no release in the tension of her expression. Of course, none of us felt like breathing a sigh of relief yet. At least not until we could hear the cries of the seagulls once more. Too bad, Jessica ate them. That joke will never get old. It's so ridiculous, but I don't know, it cracks me up every time. After we chased them out, nobody said another word. We had exiled all of the suspicious ones. Even though we had known that there might be some innocents among them, we had exiled them all the same. Yeah. She has linked me with all the stuff but the thing is, because it's just so much, I could just have like a brief, higher level kind of overview. I can't remember all of the things and then recognize them here, so it's easier for me to do the other thing around. Like when something appears in the novel, then I research it and say, oh, it's that thing, and then I stop there and then, you know, proceed that way. We had chased them out of this paradise, where people didn't have to doubt each other. However, our motive for chasing them out had been suspicion of our fellow man. The worst kind of crime for a human. I like that that is acknowledged. Because it feels, like, really shitty. If we had been able to accept the existence of a 19th person, of the witch, then we all might still be talking face to face, trusting in each other. In that instant, we had agreed to chase out all of the suspicious people. But had that been the right thing to do? During this endless silence, we could do nothing but be quietly tormented by that sin. Aunt Natsuhi was facing the door, seated all the way back in her sofa, not letting go of her rifle for even an instant. She would probably spend the night staring at the door without a wink of sleep. George Aniki was gazing through a gap in the closed curtains by the window, looking down at the courtyard and the mansion that surrounded it. Whether he was checking to see if any suspicious shadows would become visible through the window, or whether he was engaged in some deep internal conversation, I couldn't tell. Jessica was sitting at an angle on the sofa next to Aunt Natsuhi's, with a dead expression on her face. And every once in a while, as though she'd just remembered something, she would take out the inhaler that she had used during her asthma attack and stick it in her mouth. I'd just heard it from Aniki, but apparently Jessica liked Kanon-kun. I see. It seems that it was such a vague thing that she hadn't realized it herself. You know, it's the kind of thing that other people tend to spot before the person in question realizes it. In that case, she might have first learned of her feelings when the person she liked died. It was truly pitiful and sad. Come to think of it, Kanon-kun had been the one to hand her that inhaler. Maybe she was remembering that. Oh my heart. As for me, I was fishing around grandfather's study, thinking I'd research the meaning of the magic circle on the second sheet of the letter. Good! There you go. You have a library full of stuff there. Even though we were shut up here in a defensive position, my rebellious nature made me want to keep up the offense, find some key to all of this. We have plenty of time until tomorrow morning anyway. No matter what I do with that time, no one can find fault with it. No one else showed that much interest in this magic circle. Its meaning was unknown, and once we understood it, we were sure to find some message that would cause us unnecessary anguish. Battler did something smart that seems fake. Hey, Coach Pixie. Nice to have you around. I also agreed about this. However, I still couldn't let it go, so I killed time pretending to research.
Embrace your inner
Oh,
geek.
thank you so much for the follow.
熱心だね。何か手がかりになるようなことは見つけられたかい？
さっぱりさ。そもそも日本語で書かれた本を探すことからして骨だぜ。
Okay, that's a good one.
じいさまは一体何カ国語を読めたってんだ。大したもんだぜ。
バトラ君は眠くないの？誰かが起きていてくれてるうちに休んだ方がいいよ。ナスヒおばさんは寝ず番をしてくれると言ってるけど、体が持つわけない。ローテーションで休んだ方がいいよ。
じゃあ兄貴が先に休めよ。俺は眠気が来るまでちょいと調べ物をしてるさ。
さっきの魔法陣？
うん。まあな、どうせ時間は腐るほどあるさ。ベアトリーチェ様がどういうメッセージを込めやがったのか。
よせよ。そういうのやってると妙なのに取りつかれちまうぜ。
安心しろよ。俺はマリアにお墨付きをもらってるぜ。俺には霊的才能はからっきしなんだとよ。
It's true. I think George is sus because of his extremely bad taste in clothing. I mean, yeah, he's trying to look like an adult, I guess, but he's not fully an adult yet. Like,
邪険にしすぎたかな。
he's trying his best. But yeah, there's a little bit of a disconnect, a bit of a mismatch there.
ジェシカ、今はそれを考えてはなりません。
でも母さん、もしもマリアが無関係で犯人が他にいたなら、犯人は襲いやすい相手を狙うに決まってる。それで殺されたなら、私たちは見殺しにしたことになるよ。
Well, I don't think she's that easy of a target either, but yeah. Overall, what happened felt icky. I don't endorse it. Even if one of them was the culprit, like sending them out. And I think the one thing that feels very counterintuitive to me is that you think one of them is the culprit, and you send them out so that they have the whole mansion to themselves, all of the tools at their disposal, and you are holed up like rats in this room, which is the only safe place that you can envision at the moment. So what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna stay stuck in there while the culprit is out there with the entire mansion at their disposal to plan whatever they want for the moment when you inevitably have to come out of the room? How does that make sense? So that's one thing that doesn't make sense logically, and then it feels icky because of I think it's because of the thing that Battler said, that you're suspecting your fellow man, fellow relative, fellow close friend, fellow, you know, even the servants, like they have the connection with the family, right? So casting doubt on that and, you know, throwing them out like that, it just feels icky. Very icky. Murky. I feel like, I don't know, mud in my stomach, something like that. It's weird. A gloomy silence settled once again. It looked like Jessica regretted that she'd let her emotions take hold of her and snapped at Maria. She always was like that. Always acted tough, went too far, and regretted it later.
気持ちはわかりますが、マリアは犯人と接触し、こともあろうか、その肩を持つように煙に巻く発言を繰り返しています。
I think Maria was just taking her own side with those, but sure.
私はこの部屋から追い出せて、清々しています。
夏日おばさんって結構きついっすね。9歳の女の子のザレ言かもしれないじゃないっすか。
Even though I was being brazen saying that, I myself had thought Maria was creepy on several occasions today, and had doubted her true nature. And when Maria had been chased out of this room, I couldn't deny that I'd felt some relief. I mean, she definitely is not a cookie cutter 9-year-old, like what you would expect of a 9-year-old. She's not the embodiment of any of that. She's quirky, she has her own thing, she's super interested in this occult thing and like comes up with like this incredible knowledge base of stuff that like no one would have expected, but this seems she's been studying for a while or whatever. But still, like, I don't know. My heart doesn't really go there to suspect her completely. Like, something tells me that's not the way. But also because of the fact, again, that it's just too obvious to be like, oh, we're gonna suspect the person who knows the most about these things because that's the most obvious choice.
もしそうだったなら、明日謝罪します。
You keep thinking that there's a tomorrow where nothing will change. I still think people are gonna die over the night, but okay.
彼らをこの部屋から追い出したのは全て私の責任です。だから、あなたたちが気に病むことはないのです。
I could feel a tragic determination in Aunt Natsuhi's words. To protect her own daughter, she would resolutely chase out the suspicious ones. And if, as a result, she had left to die those people who had the misfortune to be suspected, so be it. She was prepared to take full responsibility.
なんでマリアってあんなことばかり言うんだよ。自分で自分の首を絞めてるぜ。
もともとマリアちゃんが魔女や魔法に傾倒するようになったのは、僕はローザおばさんのせいじゃないかと思ってる。
ローザおばさんのせい？何がどう関係してるってんだよ。
バトラ君だって気づいてるんじゃないかい。マリアちゃんの本当の父親はずいぶん昔に蒸発してるんだ。おばさんはそれを海外出張とか言ってごまかしているけどね。
後宮家ではローザさんたちに関わる話はタブーとされているところがあります。
おばさんは再婚だって考えたと思うよ。
Sorry, wrong button.
でもマリアちゃんの存在が枷になって非常に難しかったんじゃないかと思うんだ。だっておばさんは時折ものすごく感情的にマリアちゃんに当たっていたから。
それについては同感だぜ。ローザおばさんはマリアを好きになろうと努力してるように見えた。ってことはつまり好きじゃないってことなんだよな。
No, I think that's wrong.
再婚の妨げになっているマリアに思うところがあったんだろうよ。
No, I think it's normal and to be expected that being a parent and your relationship with your child will not always be just sunshine and rainbows. It's to be expected that you will be at odds with them at some point. You know, mostly, you know, it's the whole spiel, you know, what's the word? Just the whole thing like, oh, when they're teenagers and like rebellious phase and all of those cliches. But it's just a part of a reality that sometimes, some days, you will not be on the same wavelength with your child and they're gonna give you a hard time. And that's what a parent, being a parent is. You take those moments and you overcome them, and at the end of the day, even though maybe you're having an argument, maybe you're not landing on the same conclusions, maybe you're at the, you know, at odds or at a standstill or something, but in spite of that, you still fight for it. Fight for what you believe is right for your child, because at the end of it all and underneath it all, you love your child. It doesn't, I know, it's wrong. I mean, I don't know about Rosa, okay? Maybe this is just me and my feeling about it coming and spilling through and being like triggered by this. But that's the whole point of it. If you're expecting to be a parent and everything to just like go smoothly, then you're not really a parent, are you? Because the whole point is that it's gonna be tough, but you're still gonna do it, because at the end of the day, it's not about you having an easy life, it's about what you're gonna accomplish for your child. So, I don't know if Rosa felt all of those, but I think it's really wrong to say that she didn't like her kid. It breaks my heart if that is really the case. It would really, really break my heart.
母親の感情的な拒絶がきっと彼女の幼い心に深い傷を残したと思うんだ。そしてどこかでオカルト趣味と出会い、心の隙間を埋めるように没頭していく。知ってるかい？マリアちゃんにとって魔女のイメージは決してネガティブなものじゃないんだよ。ほら、昨日海岸でマリアちゃんのノートを見せてもらわなかったかい？
ああ、なんだか楽しそうな落書きでいっぱいだったぜ。
Yesterday, when we had doubted the witch down by the beach, Maria had gotten all riled up and started explaining about witches. And not one of the pages had shown a picture of an ugly witch. They were all brightly colored, beautiful, cute witches who looked like they were having fun. So, there's nothing wrong with that. There was absolutely nothing sinister about them, like a boy might have imagined. They were beings adorned with beautiful dresses, who could grant anyone's dreams with their mysterious magic and who made everyone happy. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very murky space to navigate. It's very easy from the outside to be like, you know, see the way she acts towards Maria and immediately condemn her. I don't like that she acts that way, and I believe from a logical standpoint, the way she acts achieves nothing. I can empathize with her struggles, though, to a certain extent, and yeah, I do believe, I sincerely believe in my heart of hearts, that being violent and yelling and things will not achieve anything. But I can also understand how she got to that point. And it's very weird to phrase this in a way that I'm not trying to make excuses for her, but at the same time, reality isn't this black and white that people would, like, whenever they observe situations from the outside, would like to immediately categorize things in, because that's so easy. The difficult part about life in general is accepting all of the layers of gray in between, and just, you know, having this determination to still navigate through them, and to give people, you know, respect where it's warranted, but still point out their flaws when there obviously are flaws. And neither of these mean, like, one side when you respect them for the things that they do, because yes, I would feel respect towards Rosa, because even though this is very difficult and she's not really doing things necessarily like in a way that vibes with me, but overall it's a gargantuan task to take care of a child, regardless of when this is. And, you know, you can point that out, and at the same time point out that her methods and her outbursts aren't necessarily okay, and at the same time you are speaking about the same person, and she's neither an angel nor a monster, she's just a person, if that makes sense. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna keep that in mind. That's a good way to put it. The sorrow of not being loved by her mother. Had Maria sought salvation from the witches as beings who could save her from that sorrow and make her happy? Someday a witch would come, and using her wonderful magic would bring Maria happiness. Even though she believed that, as she grew older, she had to face reality, as her fleeting dreams were sliced to ribbons one by one. If, in front of a girl like that, something claiming to be the witch of Rokkenjima appeared, and whispered that she would take Maria to the Golden Land where Maria could be happy.
僕は今頃になって胸中を告白するよ。
Alright, let's hear it.
マリアちゃんを、いや、源氏さんたちを追い出したのは多分いけないことだったんじゃないかな。
You think?
気まずくはあるぜ。
Since Jessica had been the one to face them and slam them with words of rejection, her conscience must be tormenting her a lot right now.
なら、皆さんはあの手紙をどう説明するのですか？私の後ろにいた4人以外の誰にも置くことはできなかった。それは私がこの目ではっきり確認しています。あの4人が潔白だというなら、どうやって この密室の8人もの人間がいる中で手紙を置けたというのですか？
そうなんだよ。その話が始まっちまうと、確かに4人は怪しいってことになっちまう。だが、全然ダメなんだ。ああ、全然ダメだぜ。
全然。
ダメって何がだい？
ああ、もう今更何の役にも立たないかもしれねえが、またチェス盤をひっくり返させてくれ。
Flip it.
つまり、あの4人が本当に犯人だってんならよ、おかしいんだよ。
そうだぜ。あんなテーブルの上に堂々と置いたら、この中に犯人がいますよと告白するようなもんじゃねえか。そうだよ。おかしい。
I know, that's what I've been saying here.
やるなら、例えば扉の隙間に置いて、廊下側から差し込まれたように見せかけるとか。そうだよ。部屋の外に犯人がいるように見せかけなきゃ、自分が疑われてしまうことが分かってたはず。
ああ、そういうことなんだ。あの4人の中に犯人がいたとして、テーブルのど真ん中に手紙をポンと置くことは、リスクばかりで何の意味もないんだ。だが、どうやってそこに手紙を置いたかのトリックは置いといて、あの4人以外の誰か、すなわち、この部屋の外に犯人がいたと仮定したとき、あの手紙には大きな意味が生まれる。
よしなさい、バトラ君。今さら些細な問題です。
Aunt Natsuki quickly guessed what I was getting at. No, maybe she had thought of it long before I had, and had simply held her tongue.
この部屋の外に犯人がいて、俺たちが外からは手出しをできない密室に立てこもっちまったらお手上げだ。ああ、そうだよ。この部屋からじいさまがいなくなったって話の時、俺が披露した説じゃねえか。じいさまが自分から出ていくという説。自分から出ていくような何かの細工を犯人がして。
Come to think of it, even Maria had said it when we found the scorpion magic circle on the doorknob to the study. Beatrice couldn't get through this door, but she might be able to induce someone to leave of their own accord.
だとすると、私たちは犯人の罠に見事はまって、新しい生贄候補を送り出しちまったことになるぜ。
源氏たちもバカではありません。身を守ろうと思うなら、この部屋の次に安全な場所をすぐに思いつくでしょう。そこできっと身を潜めています。
Well, they clearly said they were going to the parlor, so I don't know. Natsuki hadn't answered the question. She herself realized that if the culprit wasn't in that group, that letter could easily have been a trap. However, it wasn't worth the risk of calling back the people she had once thrown out. To Aunt Natsuki right now, her greatest and only duty was to protect the children. And to that end, she was thinking a few sacrifices may be an unfortunate necessity. I mean, technically Maria is also one of the children, but you threw her out, so I don't know how that line of thinking justifies this, but okay.
なあ、夏日おばさん。
She is protecting some of the children, that's true.
きついこと聞くぜ。もしあの時、たまたまジェシカもおばさんの後ろにいたなら、おばさんはこの部屋からジェシカも追い出してたかい？
That's a good one.
確かに残酷なところはあったかもしれない。でも、夏日おばさんは母として娘を守りきろうと思った。その責務から自分がやがては糾弾されることを覚悟で彼らを追放したんだ。俺は別にそれを責めてえわけじゃねえ。ただジェシカはいいお袋を持ったなってそう思ったのさ。
そうだね。夏日おばさんは朝からずっと続いているこんな事件の中でも冷静さを失わず、ずっとみんなを牽引してきてくれた。もしおばさんまで混乱していたら、僕たちは今頃全員犯人の手にかかっていたかもしれない。だから僕たちはおばさんに感謝しなくちゃいけないと思う。
ありがと
う。バトラたちの言いたいことは、つまりこういうことだろう。マリアの母でもあってほしいって。
There it
私
is.
マリアのことを実の妹みたいだとずっと思って可愛がってきた。
But earlier you were yelling at her. Do you understand the duality and the conflict that, like, the conflict that gets born from this? Like your outward expression when you are like cornered or feel scared and whatnot, and then when you are calm and then think about these things. So that's why I'm saying that, like, when things like this happen, getting overly emotional is like the wrong thing to do. And I say that as a person who is very emotional and who appreciates emotions, and as an INFJ, feelings are very important to me, but I admit this at least. So
な
there you are.
いろんなことがあって
Uh-huh.
ちょっ
There you are.
と混乱しちゃってひどいことをたくさん言って傷つけてしまった。母さんお願い。マリアもみんなも一緒にいようよ。私たちの中に犯人なんていなかったんだよ。
I mean, again, now the pendulum is swinging a little bit too much in this other direction, because you're still all suspects, but like all of you. Cute little Maria.
この事件の犯人は魔女のベアトリーチェでいいじゃないか。だからもう
Okay.
疑い合うのはやめようよ。
That I don't know. That might be a little bit too naive. I don't know. Natsuhi closed her eyes for a short while. Was she coping with her throbbing headache again, or was she thinking of something?
ジェシカは主人と結婚してから12年もかけてようやく授かった大切な娘です。私はジェシカを守るためならどのような鬼にでもなります。
That was some pretty strong language at the end there. She realized very well that these were only words, but even so, she was strongly resolved to protect her daughter, even if she had to become a demon. But that was because she was tormented by guilt. The day had been so long. So many things had happened in one day, and we had been put under such pressure. I wonder if we have the right to greet tomorrow the way we are now. There it is.
見つけた。この魔法陣だ。
Aha! Within the books I had been constantly flipping through, I had finally found the same magic circle that had been drawn on the second sheet of the letter. Georgianiki peered at it as well. Okay, tell me what the Triforce means in this context. This magic circle's name was the Third Magic Circle of Mars. The Hebrew written on it was from the Old Testament's Book of Psalms, Psalm 77, verse 13. What God is so great as our God? The meaning of the magic circle was discord. There you go. Played right in. It agitates internal divisions and causes the enemy to bring about their own downfall.
おいおい。
Oi oi.
マジかよ。
Uh-huh. Could there be a more fitting way to describe our current situation and mental state? We couldn't help but be stunned into silence. Ooh ooh.
じゃあこの手紙は罠だってのかよ。どうやってここに置いたんだよ。この部屋には私たち8人以外には誰もいなかったんだぜ。
とにかくどうやってここに置いたのかその方法は捨ておくぜ。とにかく犯人の狙いはたった一つ。この鉄壁の書斎に疑心暗鬼を引き起こして生贄の羊を俺たちの手で外へ放り出させることだったんだ。
だとしたら狙いは外へ出された人たちだ。
母さんどうしよう。あの4人が危ない。
It was surprising that Aunt Natsuhi remained unpleasantly silent. Even if this was all a trap by the culprit, even if the four who had been chased out of the room were in danger. Hey, thank you so much for the follow. If you want to join the Discord, I have to give you an invite thingy because, yeah, it's not fully open as we've had some issues in the past, and in the end I just let it in this way. So, there you go. Just an open invitation. Take it or leave it, it's all good. So, even if this was all a trap by the culprit, even if the 4 who had been chased out of the room were in danger, it had nothing to do with the safety of the 4 people in here. And there was no way to prove the innocence of the 4 people we had kicked out. If we're willing to let them die, then we shouldn't leave this room no matter what. That way is safest. Holy fuck, that's so creepy. I thought the phones weren't working. I don't know if I want to know. Oh my god. Just then, all of a sudden, the piercing sound of a phone rang through the room. It was the antique extension phone that was set on grandfather's study desk. It had started ringing right as we began this conversation. Oh fuck. It was only natural that we would think it an SOS from the others we had kicked out. But then Aunt Natsuhi spoke.
どうして電話が故障していて使えないはずなのに。
そんなことは関係ねえさ。もしマリアたちが助けを求める電話だったら。
そもそも電話の普通が犯人の工作によるものならば、この電話はおそらく。
With that one sentence, the ring of the phone, which had sounded like a scream for help, started to sound like a ghastly summons from some unknown person. Aunt Natsuhi hesitated over whether to pick up the receiver. I vote yes. I hate it. I don't know if I want to know, but I think at the end of the day, it's better to know, right? Because you can hide from reality, but you can't hide from the consequences of reality, so better to know, you know? External lines are cut. Yeah, but there was a moment there when was it Genji who was looking into it? I don't remember exactly who was trying, but they kind of had concluded that even the internal ones were not working. So like the servants couldn't talk to each other or something.
Toro, Oba-san.
I don't remember which one was the first that they figured out wasn't working. I think maybe first they figured out the internal one and then they tried to use the external one and there was this explanation that the internal and external are separate, but then they concluded that that wasn't working either. But now that I think about it, I guess it was all relying on Genji's word, or I don't remember if someone else double-checked it. Okay. My memory is very fuzzy on which was the order there.
何かの理由で電話が回復したのかも。マリアちゃんたちからの緊急の電話の可能性もある。
そうだぜ。
Even if it's not, it's better to pick up, I think.
それに万一犯人からの電話だったら上等さ。話を聞いてやろうじゃねえか。
Don't worry, it's a spam call.
それにどうせ電話だ。受話器越しに何をほざいたって痛くも痒くもないぜ。
おばさんが取らないなら俺が取るぜ。
私が取ります。もしもし。
I stretched out my hand to take the receiver, but Natsuhi picked it up first, as if to say she had it under control. Imagine it's Kinzo and he's like... like what? Like a fried chicken? We all held our breath, trying to figure out who the person on the other end of the phone was. But for a while... It was just a prank, bro. Oh god. But for a while, Natsuhi just kept saying hello. A silent phone call. There's no way Maria and the others would do something so creepy. Listen, I'm here on Bahamas with Genji and we're drinking those cocktails with small umbrellas in them and getting suntan. I think Ginzo should put it on some SPF 50 because he kinda got fried. Oh god. Yeah. Okay, sorry, bad joke. Which means this phone call might it possibly, really... Natsuhi stopped repeating hello and strained her ears. Because she thought she heard something far away on the other end of the receiver. Must have forgotten that suntan lotion, oh man. What was it? And got one too many cocktails.
歌って何ですか、おばさん。
わかりません。 電話の向こうでかすかに誰かが歌っているのが聞こえます。何のことやら。
ちょっと受話器を借りますぜ。もしもし。
I have forced the receiver from the stunned Aunt Natsuhi's hand and pressed it against my ear. At first I didn't hear anything, but because I had been told about it beforehand, I noticed. Not in a quiet voice, but rather far away from the receiver, I could hear a girl singing a song. The voice sort of sounded like Maria's, but that just made the situation even more inexplicable. At the very least, the one who had made the phone call hadn't been Maria. After all, Maria was singing some song far away from the receiver. In that case, the one who made the phone call should have been Genji-san, Kumasawa-san, or Dr. Nanjo. Joke time is over. Oh man, my heart is so tiny. And yet, they weren't saying anything. Why? For what reason? Who was the person who made this phone call?
おい、もしもし。誰だ、返事をしろ。歌ってるのはマリアなのか。返事をしてくれ。
何が起こってんだよ。どういうことだ。
わからねえ。一つ言えることは、多分これは罠で、そしてマリアが危険だってことだけだ。
Aunt Natsuhi took the receiver again, but after calling into it several more times, she realized that she wasn't getting anywhere and hung up. She then dialed quickly and clucked her tongue. Alright, if the phones are back, we should be able to reach the police. But judging by her reaction, the outside line still wouldn't connect. There it is, so they're separate lines at least.
行こう。罠かもしれないことは分かってても、行かないわけにはいかない。
ああ、まったくだぜ。ジェシカと夏井おばさんはここにいてくれ。
When Aniki and I tried to dash out, Aunt Natsuhi stopped us.
お待ちなさい。あなたたちだけに行かせるわけにはいきません。私も行きます。ジェシカはここで待ちなさい。
Yeah, like hell she would.
冗談じゃない。私も行くぜ。
そうだな。その方がいいかもしれねえぜ。
Don't you know? Or maybe, okay, in the 80s, maybe you didn't know. But don't you know that in situations like these, absolutely under no circumstance should you split up. Don't split up.
電話が俺たちをさらに分散させる狙いがあるってんなら、留守番を残すのは適当じゃねえ。
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
議論する暇も惜しい。みんなで行こう。
Oh god, I'm so scared. And Natsuhi raised the rifle high and took the lead. I needed a weapon myself as well. I found a 3-pronged candelabra, which looked like it could be used for some strange ritual, and armed myself with it. With the spikes it had to fit the candles on, although they were short, it was almost like a 3-pronged spear. Okay. Oh, then the four of us left the study. We left the study, which should have been the safest place inside the mansion. And so we had been lured out despite the fact that we had barricaded ourselves in a safe, locked room. And perhaps we were even repeating exactly the same series of events that had led to grandfather disappearing from there. Maria! どこにいるんだよ! 返事をしろ! I listened closely but didn't hear anything. The mansion was vast and the sound of the rain even noisier than before, as if the passing typhoon was making its last stand.
マリアちゃんは確か客までテレビを見たいと言ってたよね。階下に降りてみよ
う。そうですね。行ってみましょう。みんなは周りに用心して。
おい。
With Aunt Natsuhi in the center, her rifle readied and her finger on the trigger. We moved in a group, our backs together, checking our surroundings in all directions. As though the power of that magic circle designed to spread discord had brought it all into being. We had split up and furthermore had been dragged into dangerous territory. In other words, even now in this very moment, we were doing just what the culprit wanted us to do. I'm glad you're acknowledging it. This was now a strange space where it wouldn't be odd for anything to suddenly occur. Aunt Natsuhi nervously pointed the barrel of the gun at every dark spot and shadow. It felt like that motion was out of fear rather than caution. But the rifle she held in her hand would surely also be our trump card that the killer was afraid of.
僕はずっと思ってたんだ。カノン君のように胸にあのアイスピックを突き刺すことは不可能ではないと思う。でも母さんたちのように頭蓋骨を打ち抜いて眉間に突き立てるなんて簡単なことじゃないと思うんだ。
犯人はそれだけバカ力ってことか。
多分あのアイスピックを飛ばす、あるいは打ち込む射出機のような武器があるんだよ。人力だけであれだけ深々と刺突するにはあの絵は短すぎる。
いずれにせよ頭蓋骨を打ち抜くほどに強力です。カノンの傷も肺にまで届いていたそうです。もし相手の姿を見ても決して前に出ないように、私の後ろから出てはいけませんよ。
Just how sinister and frightening was this weapon that could shoot those creepy ice picks? And could I do anything to combat it with just this candlestick in my hand? In the first murder, the culprit had probably assaulted 4 of our parents at once as they discussed the inheritance problem in the dining hall. And we also had 4 people. Apparently, I wasn't the only person thinking this. George Aniki, Jessica, and of course Aunt Natsuhi were stretching their senses to the utmost limit in the highest and worst state of tension, slowly advancing one step then another. What sinful people we are. A world as terrifying as this, and we pushed Maria and the rest right into the middle of it just because of the seeds of doubt spread by that single letter. We finally reached the first floor. The parlor was just across the hall. Why am I so creeped out by this? Maybe because I hear it very, very close in my headphones. When we listened carefully, we could hear it faintly. Maria's eerie singing voice. She wasn't singing naturally, as though she were in a good mood. She was singing mechanically, as if she was in music class in school and had been ordered to sing. It's a sound novel for a reason, I guess. The song she was singing was just common folk song, one that everyone has probably sung in school at one time or another. But why that in the middle of the night alone with all her heart over and over? Why? My first thought was that maybe it was playing on TV and so she was singing along, but then the TV should be audible too or something, I don't know. But also, what program on TV would have it at this time of night? I don't know. Oh god. When we had just left the study, we had called out in loud voices asking Maria where she was. But this time no one said even a single word. We hid our breath and the sound of our footsteps heightened all our senses and examined everywhere around us to a neurotic degree as we advanced each step. The door to the parlor was closed, but we could hear Maria's singing voice through it. Aunt Natsuhi put her hand on the handle of the doorknob. George Aniki stopped her.
扉は僕が開ける。夏日おばさんとバトラ君は武器を構えてて。
わかりました。気をつけて。
開けると同時に攻撃してくるかもしれないぜ。ジョージ兄さん、注意して。
うん。じゃあ、行くよ。
He tried to open it, but immediately felt the hard resistance of the lock. Anatsuhi took the bundle of keys from her pocket and gave them to George. There were about 10 keys, and none of us had a clue which was which. Because of this, George had to fumble around loudly and test several of the keys. Since we had hidden our footsteps preparing to make a surprise attack on the room, this felt almost fatal. The whole time we could hear Maria's voice from the parlor singing the same song over and over. It was like a broken, crazy cassette tape. In the morning, we had been in that room the whole time. All of the frightening things had occurred outside that room. So we had convinced ourselves that even if nowhere else could be trusted, that room alone was safe. That baseless impression was quickly falling apart. I'm stressed out of my mind.
ありがとう。ジョージ君とジェシカは後ろに下がって。
おばさん、一気に飛び込んで左右に分かれよ。扉を開けてボサッとしてたら例のアイスピックがど真ん中に飛んでくるかもしれねえぜ。
承知しています。いいですか？
やっぱ嫌だって言いてえな。
I readied myself. If they're going to throw ice picks at me, we'll see how they like my candlestick. Yeah, okay. That doesn't sound as menacing as you think it does.
行きます！
Oh god. Natsuhi and I rammed into the door as we flew into the parlor, quickly splitting up left and right and searching the parlor for someone who might be waiting for us. Oh god. But what our eyes landed upon was an altogether outlandish scene. Of course. The parlor was stained with blood. This place, where we had spent almost the entire day, where we had pressed in together to protect ourselves from some unknown malice, had become stained with fresh blood, had become an ocean of blood. On the floor lay Genji-san, Kumasawa-san, and Dr. Nanjo, their entire bodies stained bright red with blood. But the only way we could identify them was by their clothes. That was because... that's right. This was how this whole tragedy started. Their faces were all mashed up like that, and the others in the storehouse, and you couldn't even tell where the eyes and noses were. Of course! It was like someone had vulgarly gobbled apart a tomato pot stew wrapped in a pie crust and all gobbly and sloppy. Ugh, God, please stop it with the descriptions, Jesus Christ. And that wasn't all. Their bodies had other wounds. They were those demon ice picks, let me guess! One is in the stomach, one is in the knee, and one is in the leg. They were in Genji-san's stomach, Dr. Nanjo's thigh, no, his knee? Yeah, it would be his knee. In the epitaph, the 6th twilight was the stomach, and on the 7th twilight it said to gouge the knee. So after seeing one of them stuck near Kumasawa Bachan's calf, I couldn't help masochistically laughing. Yeah, of course it would be. On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. So I guess twilight doesn't mean end of the day, it just means an end of life? I guess that's what it means, so it doesn't actually suggest necessarily the time of day would happen. Oh lord. Now even the 8th twilight is over, and the next one, the 9th twilight, what was it again? Maria was there. You're thinking about the twilights, but like what about her, you know? She was facing the far wall, standing stock still, completely alone. Facing away from this horrible scene, standing in front of the wall, singing her song over and over. There was nothing else in the room. Just the corpses of the 3 who had been brutally killed, and the receiver still off its hook, showing that it had been this room that the call had come from. She is just singing, it's all good. Just that, and Maria, her back to the scene, facing the wall as she kept on singing. We couldn't even scream at this bizarre scene. We could only stare shocked, our mouths hanging loosely open.
Maria!
Jessica called out to her, but Maria showed no reaction. Alone, she kept singing on and on. We had come here trying to save Maria from some approaching danger. So now that we had found her, we should have been running up to her, hugging her, joyous that she was safe. And yet, not one of us could do that. Everyone thought it, but they couldn't say it. Yeah, okay, you're all thinking that she did it. Because, again, that's the most obvious thing, the most cliché thing that you can think right now. After all, because that's right, it's crazy, and yet, but no, it couldn't be.
Maria! 歌うのをやめろ! 聞いてるのか?
At some point, Natsuhi and I had pointed our weapons at Maria's back. I yelled at Maria in a violent voice, but there was no reaction. She just kept singing. With the candlestick still readied, I ran up to her and forcefully, no, violently slammed my hand down on her shoulder. Then I pulled on her shoulder, forcing her to turn around. Maria's small body was quickly pulled down and fell. And as though unhappy about how her singing had been interrupted, she looked into my face with her usual expression. Even in this gruesome situation, she was just like normal. I mean... yeah... there's various ways in which this can make sense.
Maria! これはどういうことなんだ? 誰がやった?
Beatrice!
ベアトリーチェ。
Of course.
いい加減にしろ!
Dude, don't do this thing again! For the love of God, be calm. I threw the candlestick I had been holding against the wall. The violence of that reckless sound should have gone straight into Maria's heart. No, that wouldn't help. But her expression didn't change at all.
よすんだバトラ君。マリアちゃん、今度こそ君は3人を殺す犯人の顔を見たはずだよ。犯人は君に手紙を渡したというベアトリーチェなのかい？
おお、ベアトリーチェ。
ああ、ならこれで確定したぜ。
Do you what the heck do you know for sure now?
19人目はいるんだよ。ベアトリーチェは実在するんだ。じゃあマリア、これくらいは教えてくれるよな。奴はこの3人をどうやって殺したんだ？何をどうやったらあんなむごい殺し方ができるんだ？
知らない。
知らねえってことはねえだろ。この部屋での出来事だぞ。歌を歌うのに夢中で気づかなかったとか言い出すんじゃねえだろうな。
落ち着いてバトラ君。マリアちゃん、僕とお話ししようね。
George Aniki, as he always did, crouched down next to Maria so that their eyes met and talked to her very kindly.
マリアちゃんはどうして壁を向いてお歌を歌っていたのかな？
ベアトリーチェがここでね、壁を向いてお歌をずっと歌っていなさいって言ったの。
じゃあベアトリーチェがここへやってきたんだね。その時にはまだ源氏さんたちは生きていたんだよね。
みんなで客間に来て座ってた。源氏さんはちゃんと鍵をかけてたよ。
確かに鍵はかかってたが、じゃあどうやってベアトリーチェは客間に入ってきたってんだよ。
でもベアトリーチェは魔女だから鍵なんか関係ない。長女になって扉の隙間から通り抜けてきたんだよ。
はあ？冗談も休み言いやがれ。
They learned nothing. They're still screaming at the child. Like, chill the heck out. I mean, I know it's easy to say given the situation, but how many times have you done this and regretted it later? Huh?
そんなわけねえだろ。お前は何を言ってやがるんだ。
信じられないよね。だから言いたくなかった。どうせ言っても信じないもん。でもベアトリーチェは魔女なの。不思議な魔法で何でもできるの。だからベアトリーチェは鍵のかかった扉なんか全然関係ないんだよ。
Yes, but at the same time, they should know what to expect from her already. So if you want to at least make an attempt at working around that and getting something informative from her, don't get annoyed and start yelling at her, because this is what you did in the past as well, and it never worked out, because of course it doesn't work out. It wouldn't work out with a child, an adult, or anyone. I would rather go with George's approach of like just sit down and calmly ask her questions, and ask her more questions, and ask her about details, and the more details she gives, try to, pull something out of that. Maybe something comes out of it, maybe it does not. At least you tried, but yelling at her will not do it.
それで現れたベアトリーチェは、そしてみんなはどうしたの？
Yes, that is true. That is true. It's true. I don't want to necessarily, when I'm making these comments, my intention is not to put them down or criticize them or whatever. I'm just pointing out something that has become a pattern for all of them, and they have seen it. Like even Natsuhi is guilty of it, right? So they notice Natsuhi going into this mode and they try to talk her out of it, but now they are themselves in this mode. I mean Jessica was in this mode before either, okay? So let's just say Battler. He himself now is in this mode and is not recognizing that he's making the same mistake. So this is just a fact that I am observing. I'm not necessarily saying a good or a bad thing about them. They're just who they are, and they're humans and they're flawed, and especially if they're just teenagers, they're even more flawed, I guess, or like they have the propensity to just like not have fully thought out reactions, especially in tense situations. So it's hard. I get it. It's okay. I still like them as characters, if that counts for anything. I'm just, noting. Let's see.
ベアトリーチェは言ったよ。おじいさまの書斎は強力な力に守られていてどうしても入れない。だからあと3人の生贄はこの客間の4人の中から選ぶって。みんな嫌だって言ったよ。熊沢さんは嫌だってすごい言ってた。でもベアトリーチェは選ぶよ。そしたらね、ベアトリーチェはマリアはいいよって言ってくれたの。どうしてだと思う？バトラがマリアの安全を祈って念を込めてくれたあの火星の5の魔法陣のサソリのお守りがあったからだよ。
That's alright. I can give you thoughts. It's fine.
だからその力でベアトリーチェはマリアにだけは何もできなかった。だから生贄はマリアじゃない3人に決まったの。そしたらね、ベアトリーチェはね、言ったの。
さあさあ、壁に向かってお歌を歌って聞かせなさい。あなたはたくさんお歌を歌うから、何が起こっても何が聞こえても聞こえないわからない。
Wait, this sentence, it's messing up with me. No matter what happens, no matter what you hear, you won't know. Okay.
さあさあ、楽しいお
Still
歌
doesn't make much
を
sense.
わらわにたくさん聞かせておくれ。
だからマリアはずっとお歌を歌ってた。ずっと歌ってたんだよ。だから何も聞こえない、わからない。
She made a rhyme in Japanese. Ah, okay. So it's something that gets lost in translation. Got it.
そしたらバトラたちがやってきたんだよ。
それを信じろってのか？バカにするんじゃねえぜ。
じゃあ今度は誰を疑う？マリアを疑う？マリアをこの場で殺してみる？そんなことしてもベアトリーチェはいなくならない。これで第8の番は終わったよ。ベアトリーチェは蘇る。
ふざけんな。もうそんな話は金輪際ごめんだぜ。
But like 5 minutes ago, you were coming here to protect her. I don't know, man. Just land on something within yourself.
煙に巻かれてたまるか。俺は認めねえぞ。ベアトリーチェなんていいね。
But earlier you were declaring so convinced that a 19th person exists, my dude.
絶対に俺が認めねえ。だから存在なんかさせねえ。蘇りもさせねえ。伝説は永遠に伝説のままだ。この俺がそんなことを認めね
え。よせよバトラ。マリアが殺したわけでも見殺しにしたわけでもない。ベアトリーチェが来てマリアは抵抗できず従わざるを得なかっただけだぜ。
Golden Slaughter. The music is...
あれ？夏日おばさん？おばさんがいない。
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
母さんどこ行ったの？
One thing after another, right?
さっき手紙を読みながら一人で出て行ったよ。
Ah, she found the letter. Okay. Slaughter. Ah, okay. Yeah. bad memory with the names of the songs, but yeah, it's an epic song. Or melody. Letter. That makes sense. The culprit's done with the 8th twilight and it's all gone swimmingly for them. The ride never ends, of course not. They might well have left a letter so they could brag even more. We had been so wrapped up in questioning Maria that we forgot to look for one. Alright. I feel like this is a good place to save and leave it for tonight, right? We are right at the 2 hour and 30 minute. I don't know if it makes sense to jump into something else for like, I don't know, a couple more minutes. So maybe it's better to... I know it's a little bit of a cliffhanger and stuff. But yeah, I think it's better to just dive into this completely next time. Without fear of an immediate end to the stream. So. Chapter 1 should end Thursday. Okay, great. I thought it would never end. I thought we would just keep going and going. Yeah, okay. Oh my lord. Natsuki girl, what are you doing? There's about 1 hour of episode 1 left. Okay. Interesting. Cool. It's nice to feel like I'm making some progress because so far I feel like this thing is so big. Like there's so much content to go through, and I mean I know there were chapters inside the episode and I kept seeing numbers and numbers and numbers, but they just kept going. And yeah, it was hard for me to tell, like, are we deep into it? Are we just barely scratching the surface? Just how long are these episodes? I don't know. But there we go. Oh my god. Okay. I don't know. This is basically me after this. I have a lot of emotions to process, just like last time. Chapter 1 is one of the longest chapters. Okay. Chapter or episode? Because I'm confused. Because like the episodes have chapters within them. It's fine as long as you like it. I do. I'm enjoying the ride. Yeah. Like, I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about it in terms of this isn't really my usual thing. But I was at the same time quite serene about it in the sense that I was certain that it was gonna be a high quality thing since you've praised it so much and I've heard only good things about it. So I was like, okay, let's experience something that I wouldn't maybe necessarily just by my own go and try out. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm very grateful that that you came into my life, Bea, and that now we're here doing this. All the episodes are roughly the same length. Only episode 1 and 4 are a bit longer than the others. All right. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Thank you. So there's still quite a lot up ahead. Gonna be interesting. Yeah. Umineko fans are a very passionate bunch. You won't find many vouching for the game like them. I already had a bit of a sense of that from what Beo was explaining. Yeah. Very cool. It's also nice to get to meet and interact with all of the new names that are appearing in chat. I hope you're also having a nice time. And yeah. I don't know how much entertainment I'm providing in terms of reactions and so on, because I am not, like I said, the biggest detective mind out there, but I can, you know, just roll with what I'm feeling in the moment and kind of let you inside my head if that's, you know, any little bit interesting or entertaining to just, you know, hear a different perspective. I can do that for sure. Natsuhi is seducing many new followers with Umineko. What? Ah, you meant me. I am seducing followers. Oh god. I thought you were just saying that suddenly there's an uprising of Natsuhi fans in the community. Nezuki. yeah. I don't know. I like Natsuhi. I respect her in a lot of ways, but at the same time I am very aware of her flaws as well. And it's basically the same thing that I was saying earlier, that like there's just the duality of being human, basically. So overall, so far, I like her. I like her, but I would want to see her do a little bit better maybe sometimes and learn a little bit from the past. All right, I'll definitely lean more on being, you know, enjoying the ride and commenting on just character progression, you know, that kind of thing, because I'm really into it and like, noticing things about characters and just their evolution throughout the story. That's one of the things that I really enjoy about stories in general. So I would mostly comment in that direction, I guess. Not so much detective skill set over here, like I mentioned, but that's okay. My favorite character is showing up Thursday, so very excited. Oh, okay. Interesting. Let's go then. Yeah. But for now, it's time for a rest. It's 1:45 for myself. Ugh, long day tomorrow again. Thank you so much for joining. This is also so very nice to spend these 2.5 hours with you every Tuesday and Thursday. It's becoming one of my favorite things that I have ever done on the stream. Just a heads up, there are some small auto-scroll sections in the story that you cannot pause, so don't be concerned if it's too quick to read out loud. Okay. That's fine. Thanks for the heads up. It's always good to know because I get stressed out when I can't read stuff. And it goes automatically. It's happened in previous novels as well. I think understanding the character is the way to be a detective in Umineko. Oh! So you're saying I might have a chance after all. Okay. That's a little bit of a boost of confidence. Thank you, Bea. Yeah. We'll see. It will go how it will go. And I can only be myself, so we'll see what that turns into. I'm just as curious as you to find out. Yeah, but for now, thank you again for joining. It's always so nice to spend this time with you in my chat. So I hope we get to repeat it as much as possible in the near future, as long as I will be doing this novel. Schedule is usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, same time. It's 9 p.m. Eastern European time, so convert that to whatever you wish. There's a widget underneath the stream that should show your local time when that is. And yeah, so if you feel so inclined to keep joining these, I will be here. I will always announce in advance when there might be pauses, like when I leave town or, you know, something's happening. I might switch streams from one day to another if I have something to take care of on set days that happen to be Tuesday and Thursdays and I can't really get out of it. But usually Tuesdays and Thursdays is the schedule. So yeah, happy to have you along for the ride for as much as you can join. For now, I will say goodnight. Take care of yourselves. Do all the healthy, good stuff like hydrating, eating food, getting some sun, and all that jazz. Put Maria's song and the magic circles in the Discord. Okay, I appreciate it. I will study. Thank you so much. Yeah, take care and see you next time.